just jump right in. This topic is texture and UV mapping.
Right. We are talking about one of the most interesting parts of game art. As we mentioned earlier in our Discord channel, we are going to include as one of our 3 topics for each one of the Game Maker forums, a sort of high-level how-to.
Yeah.
This is not going to get down into the nitty-gritty. However, if you all watching this live or watching this on VOD enjoy this enough and want us to get down into a basic tutorial or something a little deeper in the how-to, it works, we'll do it.
Yeah,
We got more time now. We can actually create a how-to video. So let us know if this is something you want us to go deeper into. So what is texture mapping? What is UV mapping? It is a technique on the highest level possible. Texture mapping is taking a 2D image, slapping it onto a 3D model so the 3D model is pretty.
Yeah.
And I'm sure every 3D artist who is watching us right now wants to kick me in the face for saying
that. Burke. I like what he says. Step 1, learn the material engine. Step 2, fight the material engine. Step 3, cry over losing to the material engine. Repeat ad nauseum until you have a little grasp of materials.
And Burke is 100% right. Because you're going to fight shaders,
yes,
material engines, until you learn them. It's different for every single thing.
Yeah.
I do all of my modeling in Blender. I actually have something I need to share with you guys on Discord. I'll do that probably tomorrow. But yes.
Yeah.
When you create a 3D model, you have 2 ways of coloring it. 1, you can color each piece and part of the model and hope that works out. It never does.
It never does.
2, you can create some kind of a texture. And you can map it. And you map it through coordinates, and those coordinates are called UV.
Yeah.
Here goes Steele teaching you in 1 minute what it takes some people years to learn. On a flat plane, there are things called the X and Y coordinates. That is no different when you're dealing with the surface of a 3D object. However, in order to differentiate between the surface of the object's physical locations and the locations of the texture map that you put on top of it to make it pretty, they just change the letters to UV. Ergo, there is no difference between a UV map and a XY map, except the letters are changed when you're talking about textures.
Yep.
So, from now on, if you see the letters UV mapping, it's talking about a texture.
It's not talking about ultraviolet.
Right. If you see XY, you're just talking about the physical coordinates on a flat plane.
Right.
Boom. So now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about the basics. So again, you can easily create different types of maps. I'm not going to go over these in depth because the Lifewire article, I can link, it'll be linked in the video.
Yeah.
A color or diffuse map is literally the color of the surface as it diffuses, because light diffuses. So the color, the diffuse map is the color. So if you have a blue diffuse map, it's going to be blue.
Yeah.
You're welcome, KV. A specular map is the little points of light and how they shine. I know that's not 100% correct, but think of it like glass or glossing. You know, it shines off the surface. That's specular. Bump, displacement, and normal maps are the greatest thing in the entire universe, and if you don't know how they work, you'll never be able to create a fantastic 3D game. A bump, displacement, or normal map is a map that mimics a 3D surface. Look at Oblivion. Look at Skyrim. Skyrim's a fantastic example.
Skyrim is a good example.
Skyrim's walls in their dungeons are all 2D surfaces with maps on them.
Yep.
However, they use a normal map to create sort of a bump or a facade of 3D space, so that when you're looking at those rocks and bricks on the wall, those are actually just 2D maps with a normal map on there that just creates a 3D impression.
Yeah, and if you use the console key and actually go into the floors and stuff, look up from beneath the floors.
Yeah.
And you're going to see, underneath the hood, you're going to see that a lot of this is 2D.
Yeah. You're also going to see, if you look from underneath the floors in Skyrim or any other style game, you're not actually going to see the underside of the floor.
No,
that's because almost every 3D engine out there ever is not going to render the underside of a landscape or a mesh. If you go inside of a wall, you're not going to see the inside of the wall. You're just going to see through to whatever's beyond.
Right.
That's most places. So, yeah. Normal maps, yes, these are the most important. So these are actually the most important things you're going to learn in any hypertexture mapping.
Yep.
Color mapping is, the diffuse mapping is literally what color it is. Specular mapping is how glossy it is.
Yep.
Bump displacement in normal is what makes it look 3D and not like a flat object like in Doom.
Exactly.
And yes, it's called backface calling, like Raph said. When you get behind the wall or underneath the floor of a 3D space and don't see the floor on the other side, that's backface calling.
Yes.
It's the backface of the polygons, as it were.
Yep,
Play-Doh
Nate,
and
that's
low graphics.
exactly right. Play-Doh.
Yes. Yeah, if you pull down Skyrim to its lowest possible settings and you don't have the normal maps on, it looks really weird.
Yes.
And then of course you have things like your transparency, which creates translucence, reflection.
I like the reflection maps.
Reflection maps are good. Most of them use things called cube maps. So like if you have a shiny metal sword and you look at it and you see what looks like the reflection of the world reflected off that sword,
Yeah.
it's actually a map called a cube map, which is a sort of approximation of how the world looks around you, reflected on there as a reflection. That's how they are able to do it, because real actual reflections that use ray tracing eat your processor for dinner.
Ooh, do they ever?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and Moogle says yes, the meshes for barrels are basically octagonal, pretty much. Pretty much. Do normal maps respond to light? They can.
They can.
You can have it be so that as light hits a normal map, it becomes more pronounced. And that's how you could create a wall where the textures look more sharp and defined when light's hitting it, and blur a bit when light is not. And that's real life, by the way. I'm looking at the textured walls of our studio here.
Absolutely. I was about to say textured walls.
Right, and that textured wall in the area where the light's hitting it right over here, which is to my left, I can really see the textures and the defining bumps. It's very sharp.
Yeah.
Then I look over to the right where there's a shadow on the wall and it's a lot dimmer and a lot harder to make out the defined details. So yes, you can use light to increase the definition of a normal map or displacement bump map, etc., etc. Those are shaders.
Yeah.
That's how you use your shaders. You use your shaders to mathematically make your textures respond to stuff. And water processors are beautiful. They are wonderful things.
I love water processors.
Water processors are great.
Yeah.
If you can get a good water and ice shader in your game is going to look amazing.
I just want to throw out a random comment here that this goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning, the different skill sets you want to pick up to get into the game industry.
Yes.
And a lot of this is understanding programming.
Understanding and math.
And math.
Learn math.
Yeah.
Learn math. Math works. I don't like it, but it works.
So you'll have a leg up by understanding that when you're doing your UV mapping and texturing.
100%. All right, so what is UV mapping and unwrapping?
Yes, what is it?
All right, so RPG Maker with shaders, mind blown. Oh, that'd be cool. Somebody program a shader into RPG Maker.
Somebody do that. Yeah.
I don't know how you do it, but somebody do that.
Yeah, the math teacher says learn math.
All the math.
All the math.
Learn the math. Learn the math. Because, quick spoiler alert before we go any further, the more math you know, the better making all of this stuff will be, because you'll know when to add, subtract, and divide. And if I just made you go, what the hell is Steel talking about? Good, you're at the beginning.
Yep.
You're at the beginning.
Yeah.